Hello. Okay. This is legitimately going to be a quick one today just because I wanted to come on and do an animal card spread for the collective and the energy after, the 8th was yesterday. Today is August 9th. I just had so many cool synchronicities today, including one that was pretty uncanny around the baby giraffe that I mentioned yesterday in the reading. I talked about us as gracefully fumbling through as an energy for this kind of transition. And I was at someone's home today. It was a client for work. And when I walked in, the first thing that I was greeted with was a pretty ample sized stuffed giraffe. And then there was a little baby giraffe stuffed animal with the large giraffe. And sitting behind those two on the couch was a big stuffed lion. That's not stuff you see in people's homes every day. It's not like seeing a couch. Of all the things I expect to see when I go to someone's house, I'm not they'll probably have a 4-foot stuffed giraffe. Probably. So I'm going to put a picture in of that because I was yeah, Lionsgate giraffe. I'm here for it. Why wouldn't I see those two things? I just thought it was so funny. You can't make it up. And, not really my business, but before I left their home, I said, I just have to know, what's the story behind your giraffe and your stuffed lion? And they told me that, the madam of the household had heart surgery and she almost didn't make it. And they were gifts that she received during her recovery. So even down to that detail, I'm that's beautiful. That's magical. Talking about, healing and recovery. And they are symbols of that for those people. So I thought that was beautiful, and I'll put the photo in the video so you can see. 1, 2, 3. I love these. We've got 2 birds right off the bat. Dove and swan. Dove is 21, number 3. Swan spirit is 60, number 6. Be peace. It doesn't say be at peace. It says be peace. Embody peace. Swan spirit, time for a deep dive. And then we have skunk, which says know your worth. So I'm going to read the message for this one. I'm being guided to read for skunk and skunk alone. And then I'm going to do a super mini spread. What do you value? What do you believe in? Is your best, most authentic self on display? Skunk spirit comes as a reminder that you can be proud of who you are and what you have accomplished. Know your worth. Not everyone will agree with you or share your values, but you can walk with your head high knowing that when you express your integrity, others can feel your authenticity and will be inspired by it. Be who you are, and if your reputation precedes you, that is good. You have much to be proud of, and skunk spirit wants you to be your best self. The protection message reads, not everyone will appreciate you. Many people have issues of their own to address, and you may trigger something in them, but if so, no matter. Skunk spirit calls you to be fully yourself without apology. Now is a time for honesty and admitting that something does not sit right for you. You deserve the self-respect that comes when you courageously choose to stand up for yourself and speak your truth in love. Remember who you are and what really matters to you, and act with integrity. You will be so glad that you did. Yeah, what I'm getting off of that is kind of this this thing that can happen where we feel like we don't have any ability to change things in our lives if we're locked in by external factors. And what we fail to recognize in so many cases is that those external factors are more malleable and they've shaped around us and our way of being, and they will continue to do so if we change our way of being. It just takes a little bit more force and what's the word I'm looking for? Authoritative presence in the space that we locate ourselves. So for that, I mean, you can't, you have to be strong in what you believe in, especially right now. There's a lot of things that, even within, families and people who love each other, if you have different beliefs than those people in your family, it doesn't mean they're not your family. It's just that you have a different way of navigating, and those, those who love you and stick by you, they just navigate differently around you if you change your way of doing things. So Of course, that's not the entire message that the skunk spirit speaks to. There's a little bit more within that about just like doing the right thing, not because of any type of causal motivation, but because of the idea around integrity and interconnectedness. So I was thinking yesterday about how not everybody sees the world as being interconnected. It's really hard to like convince yourself that that's the case if you think, you know, in kind of like a nihilistic way about the fact that things don't matter and what you do doesn't matter. And I mean, if somebody doesn't have anything that they believe in, then there's nothing that's guiding them to do anything for any reason, right? Or be any better or change the way that they are. And I was actually listening to some songs that made me think of hyper independence, particularly among women today. And like so many lyrics that I was listening to and tracking are just like, I don't need anybody. I can do things on my own. And I mean, I like that. That's good. Be independent. But at the same time, it's like, you can still rely on the universe. Like there's a faith component where like nobody should ever have to do anything on their own. I think I've mentioned this before. One time I had a question from one of my Christian friends. I believe she's Catholic actually. And I asked her, you know, she goes to church, she reads the Bible more than I do, at least. I read the Bible as like research and stuff. But I was asking her, and I think, yeah, I have talked about this in the video, but it's been a couple months. The concept of God fearing. I was like, I don't know if this sits right with me, because a loving God who sees us, like why must we fear that? And it was explained to me as like, it's just the idea that you know your place in the rankings of things, like the heavenly realms, the earthly plane, like you know that you're not the creator, and you know that like karma is served, and I don't know, people who do horrible things get horrible consequences. I just kind of like the way of things. So, so that it would engender a form of respect to a creator, even, you know, that it just kind of, it's a humbling energy. So it's not like be afraid, because that's what I disagreed with. I was like, I don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me. And I think a lot of people struggle from, you know, guilt and fear around their religious like beliefs, which is why I choose to kind of like take on the religion, but also take on like modern psychology and modern science, which some people don't, you know, agree with, but whatever. We're all allowed to pick what we believe in, of course, and I don't necessarily know why this is coming up, but just, you know, if you don't believe you're connected to anything and what you do doesn't matter, then you're going to behave a lot more differently than if you can see yourself as being a integral part of a whole, and what you know, do contributes to that whole. So I'm looking for just, you know, really quickly, current energy, energy to embrace, and energy to release. Current energy. Energy to embrace. Let's keep going there. Energy to embrace. There it is. That came out really like smoothly and cool. Energy to release. There it is. Okay. Current energy is the 5 of Wands. Okay, perhaps we're engaged in some type of conflict. And I'm thinking about what I said when, you know, I chose to, well, not really, it just kind of came through, but speak of skunk spirit as far as standing firm in your ground when you do things a certain way that might be different than what other people do, you know. But if you've kind of had the self-reflection to understand why you're motivated to act and behave, even if it's different from how you used to do things, then you should be able to kind of stand firmly in that. So perhaps we're encountering conflicts with the people in our lives right now about doing things in a different way, or just seeing and believing in things differently than the people around us do. Or could this could be some type of like existential ideological conflict within our own minds, within our own selves. Energy to embrace is 3 of Cups. So again, like I said with the Lion's Gate, it's important to like find levity and laughter in the moments right now and just kind of enjoy and engage with a lightness of life. It speaks to friendship, also coming together and celebrating. Eat, drink, and be merry vibes. That's energy to embrace. Energy to release, we have this, and see, Wands, Wands. King of Wands. This can be like the selfish, egotistical, like has to be a certain way, you know, there's a rigidity here. It's an energy that can accomplish and get things done, but it's not necessarily the energy that is needed right now, because energy to embrace cups, that's emotional. It's more of like a flow, you know, current energy being a conflict, energy to embrace being a harmony and a resolution. And we're going to get to this kind of more harmonious state of living and get away from any type of conflict we may be experiencing externally or within ourselves by laying down the wand of like, I must, like a dog in the race, right? I must have like my way in this situation. Advice for the conflict and the King of Wands in the release position. It's the Ace of Swords. Yeah, so just like be honest and stand, again with the skunk spirit, stand firm in knowing your worth and like what it is that you think, and then be able to communicate that. Honestly, a lot of the conflicts in the world, in my opinion, have to do with a lack of communication, and a lot of the things that I hope to do with all the different things that I want to be able to kind of like tackle creatively throughout the course of my life, they have to do with mediating conflicts, and I wouldn't necessarily present it that way, but it has to do with that because when we can kind of reimagine language and how we communicate with people and create little bridges of light and understanding between disparate parties, and now I'm thinking about the different religions too, right? We come to realize that we're actually a lot more similar than we are different. And people think that they want different things from other people, but in a lot of cases we don't. We're just not seeing the same solution or the same end game through the same kaleidoscope. And so, yeah, I'm just gonna get 3 cards off the top. And I had a 4th flip out, so I'll talk about that too. Yeah, any perceived, you know, I really like this. Any perceived stuckness that we have, I think right now has to do 8 of Swords, being trapped, but it's a self-imposed prison. You're able to set yourself free. I think any amount of stuckness that we have right now that we're perceiving, like I said before, you feel like you can't move because the way the world has grown like vines around you. And I'm also seeing like negative and positive space in an artistic composition. If you're the object in a setting, you know, if I were to trace the outline of my body right here and kind of take the silhouette of my form out and there'd just be negative space around me, like I could also take this outer. Anyway, I'm seeing that there's no room, right? All the objects are right up next to each other, and it can be uncomfortable. Like it's giving me five of Wands energy to be in that like perceived stuckness. What is our 4th card? 6 of Pentacles again, right? So activating the flow of abundance with being giving of self, and just even like, I'm seeing this too as a change in perspective that helps us understand that we might be part of something bigger and interconnected, and let that inform our like desires and motivations. Because if you think about it, on a day-to-day basis, a lot of the things that we're driven to do are like kind of survival based. Like, what do I need to do and why? And over the course of our lives, that doesn't amount to necessarily like, I don't know. I mean, it can. Public service or like making the world a better place, you know? People kind of just like think that that's like really corny or something, but every single person, I believe, who has the inclination to think in that way has the ability to do it. So the exit from the conflict has to do with knowing and identifying our own truth. But when I got more cards on it, I saw the 2 of Cups. So for, again, union and harmony with the 3 of Cups and the 3 of Pentacles. So it kind of reiterates this multiplicity, right? The 3 women, 3 guys. Pentacle would be real projects, real ideas, real things. And this would just be the energy of togetherness. So there's this like practical, literal, physical, pentacle-based collaboration, but also kind of this spiritual, emotional collaboration, which is corroborated by the emotional harmony of the 2 of Cups. So yeah, I'm going to cut the deck here and get unseen energy, like what's hidden that's continuing to keep us in this stuck position. Yeah, okay. It's this, this came out the other day for something. It's this new emotional insight into like the way things can be done, and underneath that is the sneaky, again, the Seven of Swords, the sneaky energy, deceptive energy, fooling ourselves, kidding ourselves. I've talked about this card before too, as far as like her garment, it's like weightless, right? And this sea, this tide, this wave, the force of the wave as it draws away from the shore in order to come up and crash again. That's this like, oh my God. Yeah, it's like this anticipatory energy that I feel is how I described the swing yesterday with the Lionsgate. Or I didn't do a reading yesterday, but it was the day before on the 7th that I recorded my Lionsgate reading, okay? And I was talking about the swing. It's the moment, like right before you start to fall back down. This is kind of possessing that energy because of the weightlessness, right? And the poised wave ready to crash. So yeah, I mean, what we're not seeing is that although that moment in a real-time swinging experience seems to go by in the blink of an eye, there's a little bit more time than we think within this portal energy to make those adjustments. And by that, what am I even talking about? Make those adjustments? I'm talking about just kind of combing through our values and our lives and the things that, it's just the themes of the things that I've been talking about for weeks, but making sure that what's meant for us stays, you know, we're bringing in things that are going to add to our goals and everything. And I mean, like as another personal example, I have shared in the past that I have really messed up knees, unfortunately, and I have chronic knee pain. I deal with knee pain every single day. I have a degenerative meniscus condition, which I didn't know about when I was younger and I was ski racing, but I've fallen, you know, I fell so many times and like twisted my knees and pinched my meniscus and tore it and all these different things. And like, had I known that back then, you know, it's just accelerated. Like my knees are that of somebody who is 20 years older than me or 30 years older than me. And I need to do my physical therapy. It seems like this trivial thing, but obviously like it's not. I have the potential to deteriorate very, very quickly in the way that I am now if I don't take care of myself. And so it's one of those things where it's like, ugh, I don't want to have to do this. I wish this wasn't part of my life. I wish I could cut this out of my story, but unfortunately I can't. And if I want to be, you know, the orthopedic surgeon tells me if I do the stuff, I can get back on skis one day, or I can run. You know, I haven't been able to run, like actually run without having a big inflammatory mess to deal with later. In like I don't know, it's been a long time. I can't run anymore. So basically, there's so much potential in the shifts that we can make at this time to help our lives create a lot more stability. And that's an example of like my physical stability, like my vessel. Once you start to lose that stuff, you know, you can't necessarily get it back. I mean, modern medicine's very amazing. And I've kind of, to be honest with you, I've been sitting around waiting for them to come up with some miracle invention or you know, laparoscopic, some type of minimally invasive procedure where I just kind of would have a magical answer. Right? And it brings me back to the thing I always reference with Harry Potter and the Patronus. Like, it's not going to happen, especially if that's the energy that I'm resting my laurels on, right? So you kind of just have to move into the space that you're leaving open for the change that you just want to, you know, take care of the thing that you actually are being called to, like, initiate and change for yourself. I had something else and it has left me. Hang on, sorry. Oh yeah, okay, so in a reading the other day, I talked about this, this energy, like if there are things with tower energy, with death, here it's at the bottom of the deck, these cards coming out that are indicating these huge, big closeouts. I said the other day, like, it could be one area of your life. It could be multiple. I don't think that's, I think how it's manifesting for the collective is like, it's all areas of your life because everything's connected. It's just, it may be like spearheaded, like the poster child of the changes in your life might be like relationship falling apart, or like huge financial issue, right? There might be one key player. There might be one prominent point of distress or things not working out or like glitches in how things have usually worked in your life that's affecting all the other areas. But I don't think right now that it's possible for us to not experience kind of like these, with a big cyclical closeout, it will probably impact kind of all these different domains of our lives, because, you know, even if they are truly separate and you're not experiencing any issues with, for example, your job or your work or your family, but you are with your, I don't know, your faith and your belief system, they're going to affect each other, right? They're going to, it's interconnected. Okay, I'd like a clarifier card for the Page of Cups in this liminal space. Liminal space is what I'm hearing. Queen of Swords. Okay, so I like this because what we had, so we have the Ace of Swords, and I said that as kind of like, you know, instead of King of Wandsing it, which is a little bit more forceful, Queen of Wands possesses a similarly authoritative energy, but it's not like, he's like, and tell me I'm wrong. Like, I dare you. And she's more like, I don't care what you think about it, because I'm standing again in my worth with skunk spirit. And this clarity and this truth and this ability to know what that is. And time for a deep dive, be peace. I like this dove here because it's not about, again, this is 21, 2 plus 1 is 3. We've got the 3 of Pentacles. We've got the 3 of Cups. 3 being this collaborative number that lends itself to building, but knowing your worth and being peace, embodying peace vibration. Like, I've got nothing against you. I simply stand in what I know. And if you react to that in a negative way, it says more about you and what you're dealing with and how you feel than it does about me, because I've checked myself and I know that my intentions are rooted in love, and that I don't have things to be apologetic for or like ashamed of. I mean, and of course you actually have to do that work in order to be able to feel that and say that authentically, but she can be cutting, right? King of Swords can be cold and detached, but there's still this peacefulness about it. So to stand, like to be in this energy with integrity, as the skunk spirit talked about from the guidebook, is to have a peaceful foundation for like the crispness and the bluntness and the no BS-ness of it. That is what's going to set us free from any binds, any type of frivolous conflict within our own minds, or within, just even needing to, even needing to have people understand certain things. This is a big message I'm getting, is that we sometimes want so badly to talk to other people and have them understand, so that we can kind of leave everything off, like all wrapped up in no loose ends, and then be able to go on to something else. But sometimes people don't want to hear what you have to say. Sometimes no matter how clearly you say things, it's not going to resonate or find a way to be heard in the way that you'd like it to, and that's not up to you. So again, that would be kind of forcing, and we're not in the space to do that right now. Give me one more, one more to like wrap up this quick reading. I did it, a quick reading. One more card, one more energy, one more contributing factor to the energy that we're dealing with around this. Oh, and I'm also getting something about the beauty of time and how we experience time, and time being relative. You can really just like sink into the moments in between seconds. And this has to do with what I said 2 days ago around a reclamation of a sacred self and being more conscious within ourselves, being more glove all the way on, trying on of ourselves. It's like, if you're conscious and awake and aware, you're going to notice more things, and you're going to have a little bit more, I think a little bit more time during the day. And it's not like, what am I trying to explain? Well, I see people as, people who rush through their lives and they don't take the time to be grateful or think about how things that they say might impact other people. They feel and they report feeling as if the days just fly by. And that's really common right now. And to kind of engage this conscious presence within our own selves, therefore our days, therefore our weeks and our lives, it takes back that autonomic flyby that people are just, it's like there's no time to do anything. It's like there is, it just has to do with how we perceive the passage of time. And so within this, this weightless suspension of things right now, as we fully embody more of this energy that can be a little bit destabilizing for us, but helps us to see and do things in new ways that are more aligned and more collaborative and more authentic to us, and have more integrity as the basis of them, we will, I think, be able to experience that a little more, you know? And I talked about playing with the passage of time and the relativity of time, like through, not necessarily prayer, but like through, like, if I am running late somewhere, I will put it out to the universe and I won't look at the clock, and I'll be like, I will arrive at this time. I'm going to just maneuver this car and my body within my car through the space-time continuum to end up where I need to be at the time that I need to be there. And I don't know, I mean, give it a shot. It works for me because I love playing with just the beautiful nature of the energy of the universe. And I kind of believe in all of it. I don't have to convince myself that that could be possible because I've seen so many times how, I mean, even walking into that home today to service these clients and seeing a giraffe and a lion, I mean, it's pretty uncanny, but for me, it's just like, there's, you know, right on schedule. Four of Pentacles is the clarifying energy that I got as well. So just, clarifier for that. King of Cups, interesting. Okay. All right. So I shared the example the other day. Today I talked about what I want to come into my life as far as discipline around my physical therapy as an investment in myself and my physical body. But the other day I talked about frivolous spending being something I wanted to release. So the changes are not, you know, the changes are multifaceted, and that we've got multiple categories. What do I want to keep in my life? What do I want to let go from my life? What do I want to bring into my life? You should be able to make 3 columns right now and fill it out, because there's going to be things that maybe everything's, perfect and your life is fabulous. If that's the case, I don't think you'd be watching my readings. Maybe, good for you. Also, I have to admit that I said the other day that I don't swear at people in traffic, and that's not true. I do. It happened today. Honda Accord. If you're out there, I'm sorry, and that was my bad. But the other day I talked about wanting to release like frivolous spending. And so with the Four of Pentacles, I'm seeing like on a collective level, it's a good time to walk the line between faith around abundance and preparation. So people's inclination is to cling to things and plan ahead and be fear-based in our senses of feeling like we have enough, so that, you know, like during the pandemic with all the toilet paper, people just didn't want to not have it, so they went out and got far more than they needed, depriving other people of it. And it's just like this inclination to be very prepared that can backfire, because then it's like this clinging, miserly, almost like selfishness. Not that you shouldn't have what you need, you absolutely should. But what I'm getting at is that there is a space in between on a spectrum of like clinging too tightly and then not being diligent enough with what we prepare for and save and keep. And so I feel like we'll be able to walk that line right now if we, again, there's an authoritative energy with the King, but it's cups again. So 3 of Cups, 2 of Cups. It is about finding like that perfect ability to like possess and have things, but continue with the flow of abundance, because 6 of Pentacles is here. So not cling too tightly, but also not be wasteful. And that's a pretty specific message that does have to do with physical abundance, is what I'm getting. It's emotional, but it's physical abundance. It's the emotions of how we view our physical financial stability, basically. One more clarifier for that, and then I will be done. Three cards came out face down. Of course it has to do with emotions because it's about happiness. It's about stepping into the sunlight where there aren't little like crags and crooks and crannies that aren't illuminated. This light fills all of those. And that's like, it's because the way of doing things in life before, I'm seeing the way that people inherit stuff, items of furniture and whatnot from other generations, and you get this eclectic mix of things. It's like we've come about in our lives through that kind of like matriculation process, if you could even say that about this, but like the way that things have ended up being in our lives as we are today, or how we have been coming into this summer, is like this assortment of random situations and injuries and traumas and blah, blah, blah. And like, maybe we fixed some of it and we healed from some of it, but then all these little jib jabs, I'm seeing like rough cut puzzle piece edges. It's kind of just all come about in this way that we maybe haven't had to take stock of and be like, is this really the best way for me to live? Is this really the best way for me to have long-term stability and be like a person of integrity, you know? And also have my own personal peace. Like, am I happy? The sun and all of these different changes, again, I said, and I wrote a very long thing. I don't know if anybody read it. It was on, I guess it's called the community page of the YouTube channel. It was just about like a prayer and a meditation that I did for people who are going through times of challenge, because, you know, they say it's always darkest before the dawn, but I would hope that, you know, there's an ability right now to be able to see the things that are changing and going poorly. And like, if you just keep getting smattered by inconvenience, there is something to that. There's something to it. To be able to kind of see the silver lining and be like, I have an opportunity, and I've said this before, to respond differently, to do differently. That and how you show up and how you embody the peace, be peace. You know, that's going to be the thing that changes that patternistic happening. And I didn't really touch on this so much, but time for a deep dive. Yeah, going beneath the surface. But the sun, it's about our happiness. And I will, just out of curiosity, see what these three cards were. Yeah, I mean, this it doesn't require too much explanation, but we have the Queen of Swords out and the King of Swords is out as well now, just to back that up and be like, yeah, it's time to cut out the bullshit, especially with the vices that we're doing overindulgently that are just self-sabotage and really like damaging to us and kind of keeping us in this suspended state. And I think it has to do with not wanting to acknowledge like some things. I'm not going to dig too deeply into that because, I mean, he's just here to be like, enough of this, you know? And ideally right now, we're not needing to get to that. We're like, okay, things aren't going great. There's a little bit of conflict. I can come back to my truth, you know, Queen of Swords, take stock of my stability. I don't know where she went within this. There she is. But I'm seeing this spread as like the extreme manifestation for people who are clinging like really tightly, almost like a, I mean, it's self-fulfilling prophecy energy. It's somewhat masochistic. It's like the desire to stay stuck for whatever reason. I mean, that can happen pretty subconsciously, but it's like the fear of success, the fear of actually being happy. And so we kind of betray our own ability to have any different form of circumstance, because if you don't take any steps at all, then you can't make a misstep. Well, that's not actually true. Because time continues to pass and the energy is very much flowing. So all you're doing is stagnating things, and there is a result from doing that type of, from actively being, you know, the log in the water flow that stops the, like it'll start to kind of burden said individual and add up. So that's what I have for today. Quick energy check-in. Primarily, I wanted to come on to be able to show the picture of the giraffe and the lion, because honestly, so cool. Like, I walked into their home. It was the first thing I saw. I was like, hi. And please do look at the photo, because at the foot of the mama giraffe, there's a baby giraffe, and that's exactly what I talked about. Not even being that far away from the mama in my analogy yesterday, because baby giraffe still covered in slime, you know? But the mama's not like, why isn't it walking yet? It's like, just kind of like happily assessing its young and like letting it do its thing. That's the universe with us right now. Just be tender and compassionate with yourself around whatever it is that you're dealing with. But I think like the cautionary message, especially with that last little bit of devil energy and 5 of Cups and the King of Swords, is like a question we could ask ourselves is like, are we intentionally making ourselves suffer about anything? That could be the 5 of Wands of the internal struggle right now. Yeah, I mean, like worthiness again with skunk spirit, know your worth. If you think that you don't deserve something, then you will put yourself into a state of suffering. Again, it's just all about like perspective shifts. And I know that that can sound really disheartening because it's like, I mean, it's not. If I sit here and convince myself I'm happy, there's still a bunch of problems going on. But it's not about the fact that it changes your reality. It's that every spiraling like conical system of energy in life, in your life, like maybe one of these are all people, okay? So this is you and all of your connections, and all of these are like the core foundational memories, and then things are built upon those. Every single thing that you contribute, you know, it doesn't even have to be things you verbalize to other people, because your thoughts are still very much real energetic contributions, which is why I've said in the past that like in the future, as people get more tapped in, you know, and psychic and able to kind of process more energy and see things in a more multidimensional way, it will become pretty impossible, I think, to like lie to each other or hide our energetic truths, and therefore, you know, what's going on in our minds, right? Because the thoughts, I mean, they still carry an energetic vibration, and there's conscious thought, there's subconscious thoughts, and there's unconscious thoughts. But my point is, it's not so much about like you change your perspective and everything is fixed. It's more like this workshop, like experimental thing where every time this, and if I were to accurately depict these things, this would be an animation. I should have become an animator instead of a painter, because almost everything that I see and try to paint is animated. It's a montage, it's moving. I don't know why I capture things in still, because animation would lend itself far more, but I mean, then you kind of get into like direct representational. It's all a metaphor anyway, right? So paintings and 2D pieces are just fine. Look at how pretty the gold is. This is all marker, by the way, this gold. I colored all of that in. So, I mean, if this was as it was in my brain, these are all twirling like a towel twist. Every time you think, every time you talk, every time you just dare to move a muscle, that's a twist, right? You can't ever stop time or slow it down. You're always twisting the fabric of energy with everything you do and say. So the change of perspective is more so that you take a new attitude and disposition that is acquired through the new perspective to the twists. And that is what changes the experience over time, because as they twist, they pull on the proximal ones, blah, blah, blah. So if you're twisting on a new level, you know, and I mean, it would speak to the guitar chords again and being on a note that's kind of resonating at a different frequency, like higher up. It would be nice if you could just kind of do a couple things differently for a day, and then your whole life would change, but it takes a sustained application of energy. And this is what I said about the kind of like thought experiment that my spirit guides had me do out of body one time, where I was running through like this hall of mirrors, and they basically like split my consciousness so that I could be coached by them in the auditorium, but also go through these different simulations where I was being like chased or like beaten. And then I could, with my mind, remember that I'm lucid, it wasn't real, collapse it. And I was shown how it collapses immediately, because this was out of body where there's no physical density. But the whole purpose of the whole thing, this little boot camp that I did, was like to understand and remember that that muscle is the same muscle that functions here in this 3D physical reality because we may not see the changes take effect right away, but by being strong enough to be like, I'm lucid, I'm contributing to this. When we collapse it like that, it collapses. It's just, it takes time for it to filter out of your experience. So if you collapse it, but then it doesn't disappear and you're like, well, I must not have done it right, then you get right back into it. You have to collapse things that you don't want energetically and stop fueling them, and then stick to it. It has to do again with that 5 of Wands energy of like, it's like we want to make changes, but then the world pushes back and says like, well, I grew around you this way. So are you really gonna like change your shape? Because then I'm gonna have to move. And you say like, yeah, I'm changing my shape and you can grow around me. And again, it's like the be peace, the embodying peace. It's not because it's harmful to anything or anybody. In fact, it's the opposite. If you're upgrading yourself and you understand your connectedness to the things and the people around you, then even if they don't like it, it is actually for their benefit, right? If you've been taking on and carrying too much stuff for other people in an enabling type manner, then you setting yourself free will actually help them to handle and deal with more of their own lessons and their own karma and the stuff that they have to evolve in order to be like, functioning at the level that we owe the people around us. I've talked about this before as well, but there's very common over-functioning or under-functioning dynamics in relationships. It's hard to keep it. And in most cases, realistically, it goes like this. A normal relationship, it's not realistic between people to be like, we're always equal. No, sometimes you're down and out, and a person in partnership with you can overfunction a little bit, be it, however somebody steps up to help you, but then it oscillates back and forth. Something that's always tipped like this on the scale is really heavy, and this person is essentially being taken advantage of or disrespecting themselves for lack of boundary. And that person is always benefiting from, or in the victim mentality around like, I need you to do this or whatever it is. But in general, like a nice little oscillation is healthy because sometimes, realistically in relationships, it's not always even. Sometimes somebody does more than the other person, and you don't keep track of that. It's not like an I owe you. It's just the arrangement and agreement energetically between two people who choose to like be together in life. And that could be friendship, or it could be relationship, romantically speaking. Like it's the trust around energy exchange and knowing that if somebody provides for you, if the universe provides for you, or if somebody provides for you, that you express gratitude for that and would be compelled to do something good as a result. Maybe not immediately, but I think you get what I'm saying. And I don't want to go on too long with this one, so I'm going to go, but hope everyone's doing well today. And yeah. Again, with the laughter, find something that makes you laugh today and yesterday and all week. It's just a good time to be in good spirits and let things kind of settle while we continue to like realign energetically. Okay, bye.